This presentation will review the Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, and help answer questions such as, what is FMLA? Why is it important to me? What does it do? Who is eligible? As a manager, it is vital that you listen carefully because you have a very important role in communicating possible FMLA events to the Human Resources Department.
If anyone has a medical condition or any of their immediate family members have a medical condition and the person has to take off to help take care of them, that's what family medical leave is all about. All of our goals are to keep Chain Electric and our other folks out of trouble. We want to get everyone in compliance with what the laws require. When FMLA law came down, it was because women that were taking off to have their children were losing their jobs. And we all know that was not the right thing to do. You always hear me say, when you do something stupid, you're going to get yourself a law that's going to prevent you from being quite so stupid. And now we have the family medical leave legislation. Now, family medical leave is an employer law. Everything I'm going to talk about is the responsibility of the employer, not only for the employer to keep up with, but also the people that are in charge of the insurance plans at that particular company, and even more so on family medical leave for even the supervisors, the management of the companies, to be sure that they are doing everything correctly, because that's one of the most difficult things about FMLA compliance. The employee benefit people know what they're supposed to be doing, but they have to rely on the people out there in the field to keep them aware of when certain things happen. And that's where the difficulty with this all comes out. Because many times, and I know this is true, it's 2 weeks gone by that someone has left before payroll and HR knows about it. That can't happen. It absolutely cannot happen. And to emphasize how much that cannot happen, let me just start this whole session off with one little bitty story. This was a court case, because you know we don't live by the laws, we live by the lawsuits, right? We have a lot of those. In Schultz versus Advocate Health and Hospital Corp., a longtime employee alleged that his former employer terminated him in retaliation for using FMLA for his ill parents. Now, granted, the company did everything correctly when it came to FMLA and all the things the law required there. But once all that party was over, they fired the employee. And that's what his lawsuit was all about. He felt like the company was making retaliation toward him. The employee took intermittent leave over several months, and during this period, he began having problems with his supervisors who established performance standards that he was unable to meet because he was taking this intermittent leave, which was allowed by the law, not a problem. The problem escalated until the employee was finally terminated. He sued the company. The federal jury awarded him $11.65 million. $10.75 million was against the employer, but $900,000 was against the 2 supervisors. Just the first-line supervisors at that company, because they were the ones that were taking the action. They were the ones that were giving the harassment to him for taking the leave that the federal law allowed him to take. About the family medical leave, who as an employer has to do this? Not every private employer has to do family medical leave. Only if you have 50 or more employees within a 75-mile radius for 20 or more work weeks in the current or preceding calendar year. Now, let me discuss who really has to do this, though. Let's say that I had 45 employees in Hattiesburg. I have 45 employees in Gulf Shores, and I have 45 employees in Baton Rouge. I'm not an FMLA mandated employer, am I? Nowhere do I have 50 or more employees within a 75-mile radius. But let's say my Hattiesburg location has 52 employees, and my other two locations still just have 45. Then only my Hattiesburg location, only the employees at my Hattiesburg location are entitled to FMLA protection. Mm-hmm. To their normal places where they go, yes. And that's one of the things that makes this so difficult for you specifically to be able to comply with this. And the question just for the recording is that you have some employees that work in this particular location, but then, as we're seeing quite often, a storm hits. And you have to send en masse, okay, everybody, we're going to Gulf Shores. And you have 100 people down there in Gulf Shores working for 2 weeks, maybe even 2 months. And then once that job's over, they go back to their regular locations. Does that make, while they're in Gulf Shores at your location there, does that make that company have 50 or more? It's got to be for more than 20 weeks of the year. That's one of the other criteria that's in there. Let's talk about who as an individual is eligible for FMLA. Just because they happen to work at a location that has 50 or more people doesn't mean that they're eligible for family medical leave. They have to have worked for the employer for a total of 12 months. Okay? And, it's not or, but and worked at least 1,250 hours in the most previous 12 months. They have to have worked for the employer for 1 full year and 1,250 hours in the most previous 12 months. Okay, that's who is eligible for family medical leave. They must be working at a location in the United States or any territory or possession of the United States. When I say work for the company for 12 months, it is not work for the company in a location that has 50 or more employees. It is working for the company, period. End of that sentence. I could work in Tupelo where there's only 5 people, and I could work there for 18 months. That location is not an FMLA location. But then I come to Hattiesburg where you do have 50 or more employees. I was not at a location that was a FMLA mandated spot, but now I move to one that is, and my spouse gets hurt and I have to take off, I have FMLA protection. If it is a FMLA plan, what does family medical leave do?